Well, hi folks. Good to be back online. I've got some FME questions to look at today on the user channel, but I thought first of all we've got the FME's favorite transformer contest running, and we would see who's going to win that. So there's about 3 minutes left according to my schedule, and yeah, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I mean this time. Well, yeah, yesterday when I finished work, I checked the scores and it was 50-50. It was like both transformers had exactly the same number of votes yesterday evening. And so it was getting really close then. And it's a bit different now, but I'm not going to tell you who's won and who hasn't, because let's be pleasantly surprised, shall we? So, yeah, this is... I hope this has been interesting to folk who've been watching and taking part in this, because I mean it really has been fun to do this and to sort of come up with the information about the different transformers and the different matches that are going on. And it's been fun to write that. I don't know if you even noticed, but you can click on the transformer and it will tell you about it. And all I did really was copy info from there. From the documentation and posted in there, so it's not really anything stunning, but yeah, it was fun to create all of this. So yeah, and the other thing I should mention is, excuse me, I bought a license online to run this bracket with this Common Ninja, and the license runs for another 2 weeks. So I'm thinking, hey, let's do something else. So I made another one, which we don't have to. This is not as important, but it was just a bit of fun. I thought maybe we'll do this next week. So we've got this bracket all about different fun things we do with Safe and with FME. So like the FME wallpaper versus trading cards, Zipster versus Sporks. I picked the items, but they got totally randomized. So yeah, nothing, no seeding or anything there. Totally random. So yeah, maybe we'll do that next week. Again, that's just for a bit of fun, and I just put a little bit about each item that you can click on and find out about it. So anyway, let's get back to this. I'm going to refresh the screen and see if it comes up with the score. No, we're still a little bit early. I'm hoping as soon as it flicks over to like 2 o'clock my time, this is going to change. So I'm just keeping my eye on the clock in the bottom right of the screen, and when it gets to 2 o'clock, I'll hit the refresh button, and there we go. So drum roll, and the winner is not there yet. I swear I set it to 2 o'clock to close. Maybe my clock's there. There we go. Woo! The winner is the feature reader. Second place, the attribute manager. And third place, HTTP caller. So there you go. The feature reader is officially FME's, our FME user base's favorite transformer. So if you were taking part and following along with that, then yay! Now you know. Now you can be happy if it was your choice. So there we are. Incidentally, when I ran this as a test stream, a test contest inside Safe to make sure the bracket worked okay, and our favorite was the HTTP caller. So overall, that transformer really has got a lot of fans there. But yeah, feature reader is our user's favorite. So there you go. So congratulations if you picked the feature reader to be the champion. And yeah, it wasn't as close as you'd think at the end. It was a big stream of votes right at the end that went to the feature reader. And like I said last night, when I finished work, it was 50-50 exactly. And I thought, oh, this is going to be really close. And then, yeah, maybe not so much, but still an interesting one. And not being able to see the scores, I hope you were were entertained and yeah, found that fun. So there we go. FME's favorite transformer, all done. And oh yeah, I mentioned that the prize is going to be a special holographic trading card. So we've got trading cards for a lot of transformers already. I'll add the feature reader to it, and that will be a special holographic version. And we'll have a few of those available. Maybe we'll have a few to hand out at the user conference. Maybe I'll send a few out before that. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with how that went. And yeah, please check back following week, next week, or maybe it's this week by the time you're watching this. And we've got this fun bracket just because my license is still valid for another couple of weeks. So yeah, let's look at that next week. Okay, so let's see. What are we going to do today? In terms of FME questions, well, I had a look through and a lot of them seem to be dynamic related. So if you are into dynamic translations, then you will find that this is very, yeah, going to be useful, I think. One of the things I found, I think, is going to be the schema mapper. Sorry, my mouse is really just playing up there. So one of the questions was this. Let me scroll in a bit so you can see this. So what the user wanted here was they have some data and they're basically fanning it out, I think, into separate outputs. And some of the outputs have got data that doesn't have certain attributes in. Like, so if you've got sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, blah, 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 up to sample 50, if I'm outputting type 1, well, there is no sample 3 or sample 50. So we don't want that in the output. But obviously, when we're looking at a fixed schema in FME, you don't get that option. So basically, we're going to have to do dynamic. It's going to be a dynamic translation there. We sort of can figure that out. So let me fire up Workbench. I'm still using 2021.2 because, hey, that's yeah. So that's just what I'm using right now. 2022 is not released, so I figure, hey, I should use 21. So yeah. Let's see. Let's add some data. Well, I'm going to add. Well, okay. I'm going to add my parks data, which is my standard data set for this. Let's have a look. Data parks.tab. And the reason I'm adding this one specifically is because I know there's some null or an empty values in here in the name. So if I run this and look at the data, I'm just going to zoom in a bit because I want you to be able to see what's going on. Don't need, oops, oh, I didn't mean to open that. I meant to click on the map button and hide the map because I don't need the map. All I really need is the text. And so, yeah, you can see there's some fields that are missing, like washroom, special features, park name, and so on. And, yeah, there's a whole bunch missing down there. So that really replicates what the user's got. They've got some missing attributes, and I've got some missing attributes. So let's say I want to fan the data out into different areas. How can I make sure that we don't get any more attributes that are actually needed? So what I'm going to do first is add a CSV writer. And I'm going to put it to, what's in that output folder? Let's select that output. I'm going to create a new folder within there. Call it demo. So that's my CSV. We're going to copy it from the reader, but actually it's going to be dynamic. I should have just set it as dynamic. So what I'll do is I'll just come in here, get rid of the attributes and set it to dynamic, and just click OK for now. So let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fan out the data on the output. And to do that, I need an attribute. So what I'm going to do is just create a random number generator. Having my microphone in front of me, I have to look round to see the keyboard. Let's see, any random number between 0 and 25. And that'll be at our groups. I'm going to put a schema scanner down. I don't know if the schema scanner has a group by setting or not. I'm hoping. Yeah, there we go. It's got a group by setting. So I'm going to say group by random number. And let's see, I don't think I need to change any of that. Let's just run it and see what we get. What I'm hoping is that where we've got a group, actually, yes, that's one of the things I should check. It says ignore attributes, case insensitive, ignore attributes containing empty attributes. There we go, empty attributes, ignore. So I just said ignore empty attributes. So if we've got a group that has got purely empty attribute values, it shouldn't appear in the schema. So actually what I can do is I can put an inspector down here just so I can look and find out what has got a whole bunch of empty values in the group. Okay, so what have we got? So that's got some 1 values missing, but not all of them are in there. So let's just scroll through some of these. Oh, yeah, there you go. See, that one's, so group 2 has got missing washrooms and special features. I want to find out where all of them are missing. So there we go, group 3. All of the park names are missing, all of the washrooms are missing, all of the special features are missing. So what I would expect for group 3 on here is that we don't have, okay, what I'm going to do, go back to the schema scanner and say ignore attributes containing map info, because they're the format attributes I don't really need. Hey IT, yes, you're Transformer 1, so I suspect you're pretty happy about that. Okay, let's see, what have we got here? So yeah, so park ID, park ref ID, neighborhood name, visitor count, tree count, and a bunch of FME ones. So yeah, so that group doesn't have the park name and the special features and the washrooms in there because they all had null or missing values. So now basically I've created a different schema for those data. So what I'm going to do is send that to the dynamic writer. Let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fan out. We're going to call it parks dash, and we're going to use a random number. Actually, what I'm going to do is FME feature type name, which comes from the schema scanner. The schema scanner says, okay, FME feature type name is the key that's going to define the match between the features in the schema. So all of the features that have the same schema will have the same ID number in the feature type name. And notice that I've just pointed both schema and features into the dynamic output, and that will basically take all of the data, it will take all of the schemas, and it will match the schemas to the data based on that value. So that's what I'm fanning out by. I don't need the parks data to come in as a schema. I'm purely getting everything from the schema feature. And I think, do I need to? I think I should probably put in here FME feature type name is the schema definition name. That's the attribute that has the schema. So what I'm hoping now is that I've generated this data, I've created a bunch of groups and created a schema for each group where all of the attributes in each group are empty or null or missing. It should drop that attribute from the output schema, just like here. We've got no park name in there. And I think that's all I need to do. So I'm going to run that one and see. Oh wow, that was quick. Let's look at the output. Well, there we go. We've got all of that. I think we said group 2, or was it group 3? Group 3. So let me open that up, pull the text editor across. Oops. And what have we got? We've got park ID, ref park ID, neighborhood name. We don't have park name in there. We've got all those FME ones as well, which I don't think we really need. So I'm going to... I wonder how we can do that in here. Oh, okay, it's a regular expression. So if I say map info or FME, I wonder if that will get rid of the FME ones. Huh. Why is that red? That's interesting. Let's say case insensitive. I don't know what that's going to do, if that's going to work or not. I'm hoping it gets rid of the FME attributes. No, I'm still seeing FME in there. FME data type, FME data. Oh no, that's the attribute itself, of course. The schema. Multi-reader, multi-reader, multi-reader. So okay, the other one we could get rid of is multi. Fire that off again. Okay, let's see what we get there. Okay, that's better. Now we're only getting the attributes I really want. So if we run this, it should overwrite all of what we had in there. Go back to that folder. 213, yep, that's just updated. Reload that. There we go. So we don't have park name, we don't have the facilities, blah, blah, blah. But other files that do have that information should have it in there, like this one. There you go, park name. Whereas that one didn't have park name. And this one has special features and tree count and everything. Oh, it's got random number as well, which I should probably have got rid of that, but... that's interesting. How would I get rid of that, given that I need it in the schema scanner to group by? I can't delete it afterwards. I guess I could say ignore everything that's got underscore random in there. I hadn't thought about that, but let's run that, see what we get. There was some red flashing lines there. Or some green ones at least. Blue ones, sorry. Oh, am I... No, I don't know what happened there. But it worked before. I think it must have been doing something with that. It must have been saying ignore that attribute, but use it for a group by at the same time. That probably made it have a bit of a hissy fit. Did that update? No. What have I done? I broke it. It was working lovely. I've done something to it, and I have not sure what I did. It was working absolutely fine. That looks better. I don't know what I did. Anyway, I couldn't get rid of random number. It didn't like that, so I guess I've got that in the output whether I like it or not. I guess I could find wherever it was in the list and drop it from there. Like it seems to be the last element. So you can't really drop something from a list in FME too easily. So, but yeah. So anyway, if the attributes are in there, they should be in the output, like park name, special features, washrooms. If the attributes weren't there, then you won't get them in the output. So that is how that works. So yeah. So that's the answer to that question, and I think that's going to be my question of the week because it really just seemed to be an interesting one. And it's probably one that people could use, and it's one you can't really do without the schema scanner. I can't think of another way of doing that without using the schema scanner. It would be very difficult to fix that. So yeah. So that was that question. I've got a few more to look at. I'm not sure I'm going to demo all of them or just talk about them, but oh yeah, remove the attribute on the writer. Good plan. Attributes to remove. Let's see if it does that. Ooh, we might be in luck. Good point. Let's see, so many things that I might have missed, and well, let's just open up one of these. Doesn't matter which, I guess. Ah, there you go. Perfect. No random number anymore. So let's perfect. Thank you. I don't know why that didn't occur to me to do that. That was just crazy. Well, not stupid, but crazy forgetful, shall we say? So yeah, that's another thing we can do, is we can remove attributes from the output if we don't want them. So yeah, maybe I should just run over that again, just to just to sort of recap. I've got data coming in. I'm just setting up some random groups there. Some of those groups will have a whole bunch of attributes that are missing. So what we do, we use the schema scanner and say, let's scan that for attributes. Make sure we ignore any that are empty. I don't know what it means by empty. Maybe, I don't know if that means null or missing and empty. I've got to query that with the developers, because we use empty for a very specific value, and that's not clear there. So yeah, so we say ignore anything that's missing an attribute. So that basically means the values that are missing won't come out in the schema like that, and then the schema when it gets applied, it'll just give you a different output. So yeah, different data sets, different attribute schemas depending on what data's coming in to there. So dynamic translations, that's the way to go, I think. This one was interesting. Someone was asking, I have an attribute in my table that's type string, and I'm trying to work out how to do a different code for that. And the answer to this was fairly straightforward. It was an attribute value mapper. So you could say, what data do we have on here? Like tree count, we could say attribute value mapper, or neighborhood name. We could say, well, we want the neighborhood code. So how do we, if the neighborhood name is that, I want to create a neighborhood code. How do I do that? Well, this is the way, and I can't import from the schema yet, so I'm going to have to, oh, actually, I guess I can import from the data set itself. So this is how you would do this, and this is what the user did, I believe. So we say, okay, let's look through the attribute values, and the source value is, we'll go neighborhood name, and the destination value I'm going to leave empty, and I'm going to fill that in myself. So there we go, we've got all of those, and I can just set a code for that, like so. 004, 005, 006, there we go. So I've just mapped the neighborhood name to a code, and that's really what the user was wanting there, was to be able to do that. So we should find that Kitsilano has got neighborhood code 5 and Mount Pleasant is code 1. So that's fair enough. That's what they wanted, and that's what somebody suggested. Niels suggested that, and that's the best answer. But someone else was asking, well, is there a way to use a wildcard in there? Because they've got several attributes that are called heavy patching, like heavy patching asphalt, less than 10 square meters, heavy patching more than 10, whatever. And they want to match it to the same value, and they don't want to have to put in 4 different values in here, which makes sense, because even if you did set it up, if those numbers changed at a later date, you wouldn't want to have to come through and change the destination 4 times in a row. So I think the simple thing to do with that is just to extract a bit of the name there. Just use a substring extractor and say, well, look, let's pick the first 10 or 11 characters. And the first 11 characters are heavy patch. So like here, for example, I could say substring extractor, get the, maybe I'll do it on the name of the park. So let's take the park name and get the first two characters, if you like. And then in here you say, well, instead of looking up the whole thing, you would just look up the substring. And in that case, you could put in their instance heavy patch, because you pick the first 11 characters or whatever, and you could set the code for heavy patch, and it would be fine because, yeah. The only thing is you'd need to do that for all of the attributes and create this sort of substring of that. But I don't see why you shouldn't be able to do that. Because, yeah, I mean, you can't do a wildcard in an attribute value mapper. It just doesn't work like that. So, yeah. What's the hash option? Non-matching to a string. Place a non-matching to a string. Okay, I don't know that one. I should have to look that up. But I don't see any way to do that. Now you've got me curious, because I'm thinking, well, what is that? Is that a thing or a... The option to replace a non-matching to a string. Okay. Yeah, I'm still not sure I understand that, but yeah, I could set a default value. Yeah. So that's what I would do for them, and I think that would help. Yeah, you can't really use a wildcard. They were like, can I use if it begins with heavy? And I don't think that works because, yeah, they were looking at this and saying, well, could we use a conditional value in there? And I'm thinking, well, probably not. Oh, well, maybe. What did they... Right. Let's see if it begins with... Yeah, and Hands at Red said, "Oh, I'm trying to get my head around the idea, and it's a bit mind-boggling." It is a bit mind-boggling to try and think what you're trying to do in this scenario, trying to use a conditional value as a source value. So I don't think that will work, because even if you say if it begins with heavy, then you have to give the source value to use, which is the same thing anyway. So really, you want the opposite of that. You want to say, you want multiple values, I guess. You want to say, if it is this, and if it is that, and if it is that, then... Yeah, it doesn't work like that. I can see how you could do it like that. You probably test a different value. Like you could say, if value language equals English, then set it as heavy. If value language equals French, then set it as whatever the French for heavy is, and I can't remember offhand. But really, basically what you're saying here is whatever goes into here in source is what appears in the left-hand side, basically. So you... That's interesting. I've never even tried it, never even considered that, and it is a bit mind-boggling. So now I'm going to have to go and give that a try at some point, I think, just to see if I can figure out how that would actually work, because I don't know how that would work. That's an interesting question. But anyway, for the user, the attribute value mapper is enough, and for this guy, I think doing a substring extractor on the values and that would probably help. I think that would probably be the better way to do it. So that's just what I'm thinking there. Okay, next question was about projections. When using a clipper, neighbor finder, buffer, etc., what coordinate system is best for producing a result for distance in meters? And as Matt said there, it depends on what area you're working in. Like, I mean, if you're working on a huge area, then it's going to be a very different coordinate system that you want than if you're working on a small area. And it depends where in the world you are and whatever. So that's the correct answer. But there is also the possibility in FME to have what we call dynamic coordinate system reprojection. And this is part of the reason why I called this this stream dynamic, because I just keep seeing all of these dynamic questions coming up today, or things that we can call dynamic in some way. So I'm just going to reproject this data to lat long 83, just as a lat long 83, 84, whatever. I don't think it matters too much for this anyway. So let's just say we're starting with this parks data, and the parks data is in, oops, I'm trying to get rid of the table, there we go. The parks data is in lat long, and we can see the coordinates, it says lat long 83 up in the feature information window. We've got the minimax extent, it's all lat long. So the user's got that, they want to measure the area in meters. What do they reproject it to get the best solution for that? Well, we've got some dynamic coordinate systems here. So if I put a reprojector down, so we're pretending this is what we've got for our source data, and we're going to connect it to this reprojector and say, okay, let's go to a dynamic coordinate system. And we've got ones called AZMEA and AZMED. A means area, basically EA means equal area, and ED means equal distance. So what I'm doing there is I'm projecting it to an equal area coordinate system. Each feature gets converted to its own coordinate system. And you might see that if we look at this data, yeah, like the data is suddenly all stacked on top of each other. Why is that? Well, because it's created a like local coordinate system for every one of those features, and they've all got the same origin now, so they're all sitting on top of each other. And you're going to say, well, what use is that? But actually, what I can do to show that is I can click on one of these features, and up in the feature information window, it says AZMEA NAD83, and it basically gives you the parameters. And if we look at the parameters in here by clicking on it, we can find out what that's set to, and basically it's created its own custom coordinate system. So now it's in its own custom meters-based coordinate system, I think. Is it meters-based, or is it... No, it's still that long. That's interesting. I thought it would be meters. Now I've got to check that. Equal area. Yeah, it says meters. So, I mean, maybe it is still in a meters distance, even though it looks... Yeah, I mean, I guess it probably does look like that long because it's got a zero base. Like if we look at this big feature, yeah, okay. So now it looks a bit less like lat and long. Now we've picked the whole of Stanley Park. So, yeah, I was just getting confused there. So yeah, so now I can say, let's do an area calculator. Calculate the area of those. We'll just call it park area. And now we've got the area of that in square meters. And if we look at the output there, we can measure this. Look at that. And park area, 184,815 square meters. These smaller ones in the middle will have a lot smaller area. Where are I? Park area, 378 square meters, that one. And then we zoom out a bit, and Stanley Park itself has got 4 million square meters. So, yeah. Now, obviously, the data's not that much use to you like this, but you can go back to the original by reprojecting it back to your original lat long 83 or 84 or whatever it was. So basically it's a case of put it in a dynamic coordinate system, calculate your area in meters, reproject back again, and now we're back where we were to start with, except we have park area in meters as an attribute. Yeah, and some transformers do have the ability to reproject inside them. I'm trying to think of one that has that capability. See, we've got the length calculator as well. I don't think that does. So that will be the same thing, except instead of reprojecting to equal area, you'd reproject to equal distance if you wanted to measure the length of something. Which one am I thinking of that's got a... it's like a geographic bufferer. That's the one. So if we put the bufferer down, it's actually got that functionality built in. So we can say, okay, I want to put my buffer in, I want to buffer by 10 meters. Because if I just buffered by 10 and it was in lat long, it would be like 10 degrees. It wouldn't be 10 meters. But here I can say buffer it in actual meters rather than ground units. In fact, I'm going to buffer it by 100 just to prove that that's working how it is. And so what FME is doing under the covers with that is exactly what I did here. It's reprojecting it to a dynamic coordinate system. It's carrying out the buffering, then it's reprojecting it back again. At least I think that's what it's doing. And you can see now we've got 10 meter buffers around, 100 meter buffers around all of those parks, but we're still in lat long. So yeah, so the bufferer does that one automatically. You can set the units, but the area calculator doesn't, so we have to reproject and then reproject back again. I wonder what the log says about that. Yeah, so we were buffering things, but even though we were buffering, it's still, I think the log is still talking about reprojecting. Is it? Maybe it's not. Here we go. Coordinate systems. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Oh, there we go. Yes, CS map reprojector. Transformation automatically selected for LL83 to AZMED neighborhood. So yeah, it's used that dynamically. It's reprojected the data. It's carrying out the buffer, and then it's reprojected back again to lat long. So yes, when it comes to that user, I mean, Matt's right, it depends. Your coordinate system depends, and you might prefer to reproject to something you know what it's going to be. But in general, you can use that dynamic coordinate system in FME, and it's very good. And the point about it having the same origin is because if you reproject and you keep the features relative to where they are in the same position, then you're going to get more distortion on them because they're further apart. Like the origin would be down the center, and the feature over on the right-hand side would be sort of a bit more deformed, I guess, during the reprojection and then back again. Whereas if you use a dynamic, the origin's always on the features are always origin on the middle origin, and so any deformation is minimized. Basically, you're getting a more accurate value by using that dynamic one. See, I could just reproject it to UTM, calculate the areas and reproject it back again. But this should give you a more accurate value for sure. So that's how that works. Let's see. Yes, let's see. Huh. You can enter a default value containing the word key, and that's in the AttributeValueMapper. I did not know that. Where key will be substituted by the value of the source attribute. Huh. Okay. I did not know that. Yeah, and the other comment, the other thing you mentioned was the attribute reprojector, which is another reprojector transformer. If you just had the area and you wanted to reproject the area to something different, you could probably do that. You would just have to give it some coordinates and the reprojection info. So, yeah. The other thing you could do is local grid, common local reprojector, and say, okay, I want to reproject all of those to a common local grid, please. And what that does is the same thing. It's a local grid, it's a dynamic local grid, but it's not put everything on top of each other. In other words, they don't all have the same origin. So that's not as good for measuring things, but it's good if you just want a local grid and you just want the data in that grid with 0, 0 presumably down in the bottom left or in the middle or somewhere. So, yeah. What else have we got? 3 more. Let me see. I don't know that I was going to show all of these, but I was going to try and have a quick look at them to see if I could see something that was of interest. I've 80 shapefiles with attribution, some similar, some only on 1 or 2 shapefiles. When I load all the shapefiles, some of the attributes disappear. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know how that works precisely, but I'm just thinking how I would create that data. I'd have to create some data to do that. But if, I guess I've got, let's say I add a reader that's CSV, because this is almost like reading back that data that the user had earlier, all of these files. So let's say I read them back, because they've all got different attributes in the schema. And I guess it depends which file it's reading there. See, I guess it's reading the first file, and so we're getting all of the attributes. So that's all good. But wonder what would happen if... See, now I'm going off-roading on what I know I can answer and what I can show, just sort of like, hey, well, let's see what we can do. So if we read the CSV, but this time we start with number 3, because I know that there's different attributes in there. So what does number 3? Yeah, number 3 doesn't have a park name. So I'm interested to see if it comes up with park name on the input schema here. And it does. Oh, yes, it does. There it is. So that shouldn't. So from what the user is saying, I don't think that should be a problem, because it's the schema that you're getting is a cumulative schema from all of the source data. So even if you've got multiple shapefiles and they don't have all the same attributes, you should see all the same attributes in here. You're getting the whole lot there. You're not just getting ones that were in the first file that were selected, or just one file. So I'm not quite sure how that works. Let me see. Let me run, because they said the values are blank. So are all the values blank for park name? No, see, like some of them have got values, some of them don't. And so that's why I can't understand what's going on in there. That, to me, that should still work. Like even if you load all of the shape files, like you shouldn't need to use the attribute exposer. The attribute shouldn't be blank. I really can't think what that problem is. So maybe if the user there could put some files online that we can look at and try, or maybe add some steps or a little video of what it looks like for them, or screenshots or something. Because to me, it doesn't seem like that should happen. It seems to me that you should have those attributes there. So I don't know what to suggest with that one. Yeah, that looks an odd one there. Let's see, what else have we got? So that was that. There was two more. Let's see. Actually, I don't think I'll do the user parameter one because I'm not really sure of the answer to that. This person has got 3 polygons. So project 1, project 2, project 3. The polygons overlap and they have another layer consisting of whatever, which are roads, blah, blah, blah. You want to assign a project name to each road. So if a road belongs to 3 projects, you want to get 3 road objects, each with a different project name. Yeah, see, I would still go with the SpatialRelator with that. Because the clipper, you're breaking things up, and I get the feeling you don't really want to break things up. So I would probably go for the SpatialRelator. I'm just trying to think of what data I've got that would show. Maybe I've got some grid data, some grids, just square polygons. Let's see, grid, boundaries, there we go, boundaries, city grid. Oh, I guess I could have done neighborhoods instead. That would have been just as, that might have made a bit more sense, but so we've got some grid features there. Actually, I'm going to pull the neighborhoods in instead because I think that makes a lot more sense. We've got local areas and Vancouver neighborhoods. Let's go with the neighborhoods. The only thing I've got to remember here is to reproject so that they overlap. Otherwise, I'm going to be in trouble because obviously KML's in that long, so I need to reproject that to my UTM grid, which is what all of the other stuff is in. 8310. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to delete that one, and I'm going to add some parks in because that's my go-to is parks. So if I run both of that, I'm just trying to think which way around I should call it. I guess the neighborhoods in mine are like the roads in yours because you want to know, because yours covers the whole area and then the projects sit on top of it. So basically I want to find out which parks belong to each neighborhood. So I'm trying to get the neighborhood name for each park, which is not going to be difficult because it's actually in the data, but we're going to assume that it isn't. And in fact, I'm going to delete it from the original just so we don't make that mistake. Yeah. So we've got our parks and we've got our neighborhoods. Now we want to do an overlap, find out which parks fall into the neighborhood. So yeah, I mean, it's the area on area overlayer, but that would clip as well. I mean, there's all sorts of things we can do. We can do that one. There's the clipper. It depends if you want the things to be divided up. That's really what it comes down to. I would go with the SpatialRelator. Now I just got to remember which way around this is, because I never remember which one's requesting. I guess the neighborhoods are requesting. Oh, I guess, we're not trying to match the neighborhood name to that. We're trying to match, say, the park name to the neighborhood. So we want to know a list of parks for neighborhoods. So I was a bit off topic there. It didn't really matter. But spatial predicates to test. So we've got to do... I'm trying to think what we do here. I'm going to support all predicates, which basically means it's going to aggregates are going to be dropped. We're going to say requester overlaps the supplier. Supplier or requester contains supplier. So in other words, the park falls inside there. And what we really need to do is to make sure we merge the attributes, and we say merge it together. But because there's going to be more than one of them, we need to create a list. So I'm going to call that park list down there and say just add the name of the park. So now what we should find is we've got a list of all of the parks that overlap each of the neighborhoods in here. So for Kitsilano, if we look at that data, let's see, what have we got? Park list, Rosemary Brown Park, Arbutus Greenway Park, Almond Park, blah, blah, blah. So that, in effect, is all of the projects that belong to the road. So you could say this is the roads for that user, the road polygons, and this is the projects. And we've just done a relationship and said make sure we copy the road names, sorry, the project names onto the roads, which is what we did there. And so in our case, we just did parks. So in Mount Pleasant, we can see that Mount Pleasant contains Mount Pleasant Park, Major Matthews Park, Jonathan Rogers Park, Robson Park, Guelph Park, blah, blah, blah. So those are all the parks it contains. The key there, I think, is to put a list attribute. If you don't put a list attribute, it won't work so well. So yeah, that's how that works. Like we were looking at the other things. Well, you can get the information across with clippers, but I don't, because that clips the underlying data. And you said, oh well, the projects overlap. Well, these projects could overlap as well. Say I put a bufferer in there and say let's buffer it by 1,000 meters. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but we'll do that. So now we've got some of these overlapping as well. But it should still be the case that if we query that feature, it still comes up with the list of parks. Where are we? We've got the right data there. Whoops. I think for some bizarre reason oh, there we go. That's better. That got it. Yeah, so we've got a few more parks now because there's a few more overlapping. But there's still, yeah, I mean it's still working. Just because these projects or these parks are overlapping, it doesn't take away from the fact that the SpatialRelator is working. So yeah, you could save the roads geometry in an attribute and explode the list to recreate the rows per project. Yes, so yes, if you did put them through a clipper, so what the clipper does is the projects are the clipper, the roads are the clippy, and you say multiple clippers, and then you merge attributes as well. But really doing that doesn't help so much because now you've got everything clipped up into little bits and you don't really want that. I don't think you want that anyway. So that's why I'd avoid the clipper. And I don't know that it really... I don't see the option to have a list on there. So in that case, you really can't get multiple results. I can't transfer like 3 lots of clipper information onto all of these clippies. It won't do that. It doesn't create a list. So I don't know how it would work for you there. But anyway, if you did do that and you wanted to get the original information back, you could put a geometry extractor and just say, let's create a copy of the geometry. And then back in here, you put a geometry replacer and say, okay, well now let's put the geometry back again. And it was that geometric attribute. And that's how you could get around that. But again, I mean, I think the spatial relator's the better way to go. See, now you've got it back together again. But I still don't see how you've got the park information attached. All it overlapped was one park, like Charleston Park or Vanier Park. It's not overlapped all of them, and I don't see how you could do that. Yeah, so spatial relator to me is the way to go there. That's the equivalent, I think, to the Esri spatial join functionality, if that's what you're more familiar with. So yeah, so that's how I'm thinking that would work. And let me see, I did bring this one up, but I don't know that... Yeah, see that they wanted to just use a different user parameter for a database connection, but I don't see that that's how that would work, and I don't see that you would need to, because you want the end user to have their own database connection that they just use. You don't really want to be supplying the database connection. So anyway, I don't think that's yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I had today. I did have one thing I wanted to try. If any folks are online with me right now, and I know there's a couple at least, I wanted to try this thing I've got called GeoGuessr, which is basically, it is GeoGuessr, but you don't have to... Oops, what have I done there? You don't have to have a GeoGuessr account. So let me see if we can do this, because I've not tried this out yet, so I'm a bit unsure about how it works. But there's certain commands I can use. So if I type !CG into the chat, it doesn't give me that link. Okay. Twitch Connect. Okay. See if you can go, if anybody goes to that link. See, I've not tried this before, so hopefully there's a couple of people here who can try it with me, and we will see what happens. If I start a game, if I start the diverse world game, so what should happen is I get to see what's going on. It is working. So you don't get to see the image. All you get to see is what I see on the screen. So you see what I've got, and you should be able to make a guess. And if you make a guess on that link, having issues with the chat. So, interesting. But I've got further than I thought we would, to be honest. Let's see, settings, show hide compass, show hide Google car. I don't even see. Oops. Oh, I see. It blanks it out. Very good. It keeps saying a new seed. So I'm just going to post that link into the chat again. Should be chatguesser.com/map/zipsterbot. I mean, if this works, I might try it online. Well, I might try it online outside of work, but I might do it for a GeoGuessr fun thing sometime during a webinar with FME. So, did that link work at all for you? There we go. It's just a little bit delayed, I guess. It does say my link is unstable, so I don't know. Keyframe interval too high. Okay, well, I'm going to have to change some of those settings, I guess, although when I do that, it doesn't really work. So if you try that link, and there's two ways of doing it on that map. If you go to that map, in the top right, you can log in with your Twitch name, and then you can just pick on the map where you think you are and click the guess button. Or you can click the button without logging in, it'll copy it, and I think you can paste it into the chat on here. I think that's how it works. That's what I'm hoping. So, if it works, fantastic. If not, I don't really mind where you think this is or where you click. I'm going to say it's somewhere in the US or Canada even. It does look northern US, Canada. No luck. Huh. I don't know if I've not done something right. Like, it looks to me like I've started what I should have started. So, that's well, got to try these things out, I guess. Let me go to there. ChatGuessr. Huh. Maybe I've done something wrong. It doesn't show me coming up on their live because they've got a list of who's live online, and I'm not seeing myself on there, and I think I should be. So I think I must have done something wrong. But at least you saw the map. I got somewhere with it, so I guess that's annoying. But I guess at that point I just sort of pick somewhere and say, guess. There we go. Okay, well, it's got me coming up on the whisper to Zipster. Okay. I'm not sure how you whisper to a user, to be honest. I know it's possible. And then, Sort of working, but not really. So, that's a pity. We got one in the Netherlands right there. That would be that'd be perfect if it was working. But wow, and they're riding down the road with that, holding onto the handlebars. Very good. Okay, well, if it's not working, it's not working. I mean, the other thing you can do is log in on that map. It should let you log in on the top right of the screen. Oops. Like if you look in the top right, see, this is what I see on that map, and I can just click somewhere and then hit the guess button. But that's because I'm logged in. I logged in on the top right, and so, I mean, if that doesn't work, then that's anyway. Oh well, I wanted to give it a go and see if it worked, and now I can try and guess where we are in the Netherlands. And I haven't really got a clue. I mean, it looks suburby. I mean, let's say it's a nice suburb of Rotterdam. I don't even know what a nice suburb is in Rotterdam, but I'm going to just click in there for the heck of it, and at least I got the right country. There we go. So, okay, well, I mean, it's partly working, partly not working. That happens. Well, thank you for trying it out with me anyway, and just unfortunate it didn't work. So, okay, well, anyway, I think I'm done for today, so I think we will wrap up. Excuse me. Thank you to everyone who participated in the Favorite Transformer contest, and yeah, and congratulations to anyone who had the feature reader as their transformer of choice. Thank you for everyone who's asked questions on the community, especially for this one, Superjets. That's the question of the week, mainly because it's the one I could answer and most efficiently. So that's there, and yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and yeah, well, hopefully see you next week. Hopefully see you next week at the FME World Tour. That's going live Tuesday, Wednesday. I can't remember the dates now. The 6th and the 7th, I think it is. safe.com/World Tour. We are online on the, where does it say? Tuesday the 5th, Wednesday the 6th. So hopefully I'll see you folks online then. Yeah, again, good to see you today, and I'll sign off now. Okay, folks. Bye.